Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, fam.
Hello.
It is a couple days after Thanksgiving Sunday, November 26th. And we're here with Mom doing another interview. And welcome. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so let's get started again. We just had Thanksgiving. That went off well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Susan, for hosting.
Thank you, Susan.
It was delicious. Everybody brought something. What's going on in the news? Oh, yeah. Much more sex scandals.
Unbelievable. I never did trust that senator, and I never did like that guy. I didn't even like him when he was on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, Al Franken.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Kooky.
ridiculous.
He's a kooky
These
dude.
guys.
Yeah, they're all half. I don't know. They must think they're just God's gift to women or something, and the women are going, what? What are you talking about,
It's got to be this era, because it's like it seems like all these older men from, maybe your generation.
Like the Mad Men days.
Yeah. Is that what it is?
And they got away with it then, too.
Yeah.
They did, because they'd have power in those days to say, so what, and people would go, yeah, so what, she's a woman, what else, and that's when the women's lib stuff started up too, which I fell for and is a crock of poop.
What?
Well, I believe in equality for pay, I believe in all that stuff, but as far as a woman can bring home the bacon and put it on the table and still go out and work 50 hours a day or something, that was something I fell for, and it's not true. You just can't divide yourself so much to that, and I wish I hadn't done it, and a lot of times I wish I hadn't.
So you mean you can't, it's much more difficult to be
Yes.
a mother and
A wife, a good homemaker,
have a career?
and have a career at the same time. It's almost downright impossible. One of them's going to suffer.
Right.
And usually the career comes first when you start out with one.
Right.
And yeah, it's not worth it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wish it'd be fine if you started a career after the family was raised.
Right.
Then you could go for that, but boy, that didn't work for me anyway.
But what about couldn't you just daycare? Is that?
Well, when I started doing
But
all
that's
this,
somebody-
you just were going into kindergarten.
Mhm.
But then you got to think of the school stuff. There's school stuff, and the kids would like to have you there with maybe some cookies after school.
Mhm.
You're not going to be there.
No.
And
But that's a nice to have, though, right?
Yeah.
Cookies after school.
yeah,
That is awesome, but
but it's something you remember. I remember my mother being home all the time, and I really think your dad resented the fact that I did that.
oh, really?
Yeah, I really do, because he was a real, back in the day guy, old school.
Yeah.
And that's the way he wanted things. And I thought I was being real fancy and modern by putting my foot forward like that, and I can handle everything. No. Yeah, there's always something that's missing, that you need to be.
From my perspective, how all that went, I was impressed. I was proud that you went to school and everything. That's why I was so happy to help you with your homework and
You remember
writing.
typing
Oh, absolutely.
all of those
I-
religious things on Buddha and
Yeah. And there was a lot of medical stuff too.
And
that
medical stuff, yeah.
I remember a paper that you wrote on the heart that kind of, sticks in my head.
Yeah.
I think I learned a lot of medical stuff just from.
Did I
from
have
that.
you type the one on multiple personality I did for the psychology class?
Well, that sounds very familiar.
Oh, that was the 10-page one.
Yeah.
I got an A+ on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I only retyped it. You created all the content.
Well, I did a lot of research about. You had to use, I think, 6 different mental health big books as your references. It was something.
So that was always, I was always proud of that. and impressed. And then from a perspective of dad, I never got the, he would never probably
No,
let
but
us
I knew
know.
it.
But
I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew what he was thinking.
Huh.
He would help me too. And he was always happy that I was doing stuff. But underneath it all, that's when he started, visiting the bar a lot.
Yeah.
Nobody was there after you guys went to bed, and it wasn't a pretty thing. So I really kind of regret that in a lot of ways. I'm glad I did what I did, but
Yeah.
I wish I'd have waited until a few things were different. But then I don't know if that would have even made a difference with
No,
him.
I don't think so.
I mean, he was used to being pretty catered to. I
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
everything. I mean, everything was done, clean, straightened up, dinner ready, everything's fine. I got up and made breakfast for him many times too before. When we were first married, bacon and eggs, and every morning if he wanted it, Get home from work, I'd have his rocking chair ready, a cup of coffee. He'd take a nap while I fixed dinner. He had it made.
Gosh, that sounds nice.
Yeah. So.
Steph, listen up.
Yeah, I mean, I spoiled him. I really
Yeah.
did, because that was my career then,
Right.
And when you kids came along, he took a semi back seat because you guys came first,
Right.
and he was happy about that. We
Yeah.
all had a good time together, and
Yeah.
he did a lot of stuff with it.
You kind of, I mean, I would think from a male perspective, as a father, you would want that. Yes, please take care of my children before you take care of me first. But
Yeah, and also it's good to be able to go to work and know that women don't have that, but a man does. They just go off, go to work, and if they have a wife at home that's a stay-at-home mom and wife, they know everything's okay.
things are handled.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. But if you don't, then maybe somebody calls from daycare, the kids just threw up. Well, who gets them? Wife.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
You can understand his perspective on that, and it really was. I really do, a lot of ways, regret that, but it was something I wanted to do.
Exactly. So you have to think about it. I mean, it's your life.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
he backed me up 100% on everything I did, but
Absolutely.
but there was some resentment there.
But I mean, if you really want to silo everything, that well, you are married to him, but this is your life. You kind of have to do this thing that you want to do, right?
Yeah, but he shouldn't have had to take a back seat to like he did, and I really did. I really did put everything. He was last on the list sometimes, because I was overwhelmed. So it wasn't right. I shouldn't. Those are some regrets that I had about that.
Interesting.
So,
But you were you were so good at it, though. At
but there's lacking in some areas.
healthcare, at that was so great to be able to. Mom, what's this? Mom, I think I
know. Like that
tore
T-shirt
something.
I saw, it says, "Yes, I'm a nurse," and "No, I don't want to look at it." Everybody's what's this? Look at this.
That's funny.
Well, I enjoyed it, and I loved my patients, and was glad to be able to take care of them. But I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
Now, some women, no problem. But I don't know how there could be no problem, but some of them, they don't. Not me. I should have, especially the day that I remember this so well. I had to go to work. There was no getting out of it. Danny was sick, like he was a lot. He was on the couch, real, young. I mean, like what? 8, 7, something like. And I had to go and leave him for a little bit until my dad could get up there. And here he is sick, and I have to go to work and leave him just a little bit by himself while my dad comes up to watch him, When if I don't want to done without my dad. Because they would have probably canned me at work for not
Really?
showing up. Yeah, patient care.
Yeah.
And that was when I was a nursing assistant. So those are the days when the kids are sick and you have to leave them, and it's not good. And then the older kids took big responsibilities. They had to step in, Jill and Paul. They had to step up and do a lot of stuff for me, you know. And that probably wasn't too fair either. So
It's family, though. It's
I know.
kind of what you do.
I know. But when
Right.
you're little, when you're younger,
You don't want to.
when you're, you know,
How old were
14,
they?
15,
Oh, boy.
13, and, you
Yeah.
know, that's the age when it's, why do I have to do this for, you know?
Were there a lot of fights about it?
Well, they didn't ever
Or-
fight too much because they knew what would happen if they got too smart
Yeah.
about it. But I think sometimes they took advantage of the fact that I was gone.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah. There were times I remember
Yep.
getting a little rowdy in the house
Mm-hmm.
because you weren't around. Yeah. It was fun, but on the other hand, it was strange, and you know,
Yeah.
the times when you weren't there, late at night.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
the
that's.
evening. Yeah.
I really regret that a lot. So. But
But-
anyway, well, those are things you can't go back and do over. So that's it. It's just
No.
my advice to anybody that thinks that they aren't able to do everything. Don't do everything. Just do what you know you want to do the most.
Yeah, a lot of people think they can. Well, this is just even smaller tasks. They think they can multitask. Humans think that they're good at it, but they're really not. They suck at it.
It's true. And the
Both things will suffer.
Right. Both things will suffer, and nobody can multitask that much. And then I found out most of these women that were promoting that stuff were like lesbians. They didn't have to worry about
Yeah.
any of that, you know.
Yeah.
But they wanted everybody else to prove how right they were, you know.
Yeah.
So that was a crock. It really was.
That's funny. All right, so back to Thanksgiving. Let's see. Let's just go in general. What was it like when you were a child?
It was
Thanksgiving?
really a nice big meal, and my dad could have tons of people come over. Usually it was mostly just family, but if he saw anybody that needed a dinner, right at our place, you
Yeah.
know, he had more people that would show up there. But I remember my mother used to let me make the pumpkin pie. She'd make the crust, and I could make the filling.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love pumpkin pie so much, you know. So
Did you have to carve and dig out the pumpkins?
no,
and
we just
everything,
used
or-
canned pumpkin.
Okay.
Yeah. Although I learned a trick on that if you want to make it out of real pumpkins. I mean, well, live pumpkins. I don't
Right.
know. You put them in the oven and bake them first, whole.
The whole pumpkin?
Yeah, like they're pie size. You know, they're only about that big.
Oh, okay.
You bake the whole pumpkin, and then it's just ready to go. You get it out of the oven, it's soft, you cool them off, and it's all cooked, and you scrape it out and stick it in there and make your deal, yeah.
You add sugar and stuff like
Yeah,
that? or
you have
what?
to take just all the pulp, not the seeds and all that junky stuff, or the outside,
Right.
but you scrape it out, and it comes out real easy, and you put it in a bowl and make your,
Good to know.
but I probably will never do it, but
No, I might try it though. Huh. So then you guys would do the whole. It would like you have a bunch of family come over too?
yeah, family or whoever needed a place for Thanksgiving. And it was always, my mom was such a great cook, and it was always a nice big turkey and all the trimmings and, you know.
This was I'm picturing it still at the house down by the fairgrounds.
Yeah, that's where it was at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who were some of the normals that would come over? Aunts and
Well,
uncles
like,
and things like that, or-
maybe sometimes neighbors, and sometimes people that he worked with that he knew didn't have family. And there was one guy that I mean, seriously, this guy didn't have any teeth, but his gums were to the point where he could even eat steak that way.
What?
Yeah, I mean, he really trained himself how to eat it. So these are the kind of characters that came over. We had one guy that could whistle really good, and he'd always take his ears like this, and then he'd whistle stuff for us, you know. So that would be his contribution. they weren't normal people that he had over, but I really got an education on people from these things that came over. But and then sometimes,
Like, what was the deal with the ears?
I don't know, it's like he could hear himself better or something when he did that.
Huh.
So he whistled pretty good though. It was,
Yeah.
you know, pretty.
That's funny.
You could request songs. It was kind of like a little 50s
DJ, or
DJ.
something.
Yeah.
Was that? Did you just mostly have like those characters?
Those
over?
characters, and then we'd have,
Family.
yeah, you know, my brother from Lincoln would come over maybe with his wife and kids, and then sometimes I have my aunt would come over from Iowa, Sheldon, Iowa, with my uncle, and
So set the picture. Who all would normally like? Who's the immediate family that is just there
usually
no
like
matter
the
what?
people that were living here, you know, and a lot of my brothers were in the service at that time.
Okay,
So if they could make it home, that was all the better, and they'd
I
bring
bet.
friends home with them.
I bet.
You know, and we had one guy from Georgia that came with Butch all the time, and one year he got really sick, and we all were trying to give him to take, you know, soda because that's supposed to help you relieve all that. Turned out he had appendicitis.
Huh.
So you don't do that when you have appendicitis.
That's not. Oh,
Yeah, you want to make sure you get to the doctor with that. So he was, you know, he was sick, and we had that to deal with, and
the soda made it worse. I take it.
yeah, you don't. I mean, it just doesn't do anything for you, and
Oops.
so yeah, and
Who all was in the service? Majority of the
every
time?
one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dick was in the Air Force, and Bill and Benny were in the Navy, and Bob was in the Army, and I guess that takes care of all of them.
So then it was you and Helen.
Yeah, Helen and
Helen.
me, and then you know, the ones that weren't in the service yet or they were home, they would be there with us. And Benny, by that time, I think had returned from the service, and then he met Irmgard, and then of course she would be included in it, and so yeah. By the time they got through, we had quite a bunch with all the kids and everything, and
Small house.
I don't know how she did it. I don't know how she did all she did, getting people set up in there. We had a huge dining room table and a small dining room, but we all got around it.
I mean, from what I remember of the house,
I know.
how?
I know. Well, she shoved it away for the times we weren't using it, and the times we needed more room, she'd pull it out in the middle of the room, and it was one of those big, old-fashioned ones with claw feet on the bottom.
Yeah? Huh.
You know, they had the central pedestal, and then the feet would come down off of these separate arms going about 4 different ways.
That was the table, the dining room
Yeah,
table?
and it was huge and had leaves to go in it, you know. I think that thing could go on and on, extending.
Because all I remember of the house was you'd go around the back, right? Come in, and then that would be like the kitchen, right?
Yeah, and then they turned it into kind of a living room type thing after a while.
Yeah.
And my dad set up a potbelly stove there by a chair in
Yeah,
there.
and then you'd walk into the living room.
And it was really supposed to be the dining room, but they have kind of reconverted it into partly.
They built a wall in between or something, or
Well, no, that was always there. But then off to the other away was a small living room, that what we used for a living room when I was a kid, and was still like a living room, but they just didn't use it as much as that.
yeah, I don't remember ever. I only remember those 2 rooms.
The kitchen and the dining room.
Kitchen in the dining room, or that's kind of where he would hang out. He would Grandpa would have his chair sit next to the potbelly
right next to
stove.
that with the tea
Yeah.
kettle on top.
Yeah, and then there was air conditioning in there too. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was either super hot or
Yeah.
super cold in there. That's what I remember about the place.
I know.
And then there was the porch, but then I think there was another room that I never went into.
Yeah,
And
there
then
was a little living room, and then in between that was the staircase.
I remember the
and then,
staircase.
And then on the other side was my mom and dad's bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
And upstairs were 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember going up there, and it's small.
It's teeny. Very teeny.
And that whole family grew up there?
Yeah. I mean, you just did it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's lots to a bed. My sister and I shared a bed for a long time.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got where I could have a bed of my own, I get thrown out of it all the time, like I told you from my brother.
Yep.
I got a buddy who needs a bed. Why don't you go sleep on the couch?
Why don't they sleep on the couch?
As he lifted me up to carry me down, I had no choice, really.
But why didn't they sleep on the couch, though?
That's what I always wanted to know. But I never got an answer, Well, they were special. They were guests.
We're the host.
Yeah.
We have to be nice.
Well, it's funny. At Christmas, there was a chimney where it used to be. That's exactly, where they would have had a stove in the olden days. That house was real old, and so they had a chimney that they didn't use, but it had a small leak in it, so it wouldn't have like the wallpaper on it would have a stain on it, and it had an opening where the pipe would have gone, so they would cover that up. And at Christmas, my mom put a Santa Claus over it.
Oh, no.
And it looked like he was chewing tobacco because the stain would come on his beard and come running down his beard for Christmas. And my dad always said that's what that was from.
He probably loved it, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. He thought they kept up with the Joneses,
That's hilarious. Because he was a big chewer, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Up to the day he died.
Let's see. How did your parents feel about the way you talked and what you wore?
Well, we had no choice of what we wore to school.
Hmm.
You did not wear pants. If you wore pants, you go home.
Yeah.
And the only time you could wear them was in the jeans. You could put jeans on under a skirt in the wintertime to get to school. And then you had to take them off and hang them up with your coat.
I remember you saying something about that. Yeah.
And so you had to wear a skirt, blouse, or a dress. And so we had I had about 2 or 3 dresses and maybe 1 or 2 skirts. Some of those my mom made. And she was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
She had a great sense of color. I always loved that.
Yeah.
So I was glad to wear the stuff she made. I liked her stuff. And so.
What about outside of school?
Outside of school, when I was little, overalls.
Yeah. And they
overalls
probably
and a cowboy hat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did they ever try to get after you for wanting to
Oh,
be
no,
more
because
ladylike or anything?
No, that was lost cause.
Yeah.
Aunt Helen got the brunt of that.
Yeah.
She was the lady of the bunch.
They didn't even try with you?
No, because my mom said by that time, when she saw that Helen had been kind of set back, she had to be set aside because she couldn't participate in some of this stuff that I was having fun doing.
Yeah.
She said, well, I'm not going to do that to her. And she said, I'm going to let her go. So she gave me a free rein, but my sister, and by the time I came along, she's 5 years older than I am. I don't know, I guess my mom had just kind of kept her in the manners department, and me, I was just, and I don't think they could have really kept me from, I wouldn't put up with it,
Yeah.
I think they knew it. I was just going to bust out one way or another. So
that's funny though, because back then, people were very disciplined.
Oh yeah.
I
never got a spanking in my whole life, but believe me, my mother had a look that would drill you to the wall.
Yeah.
And you knew.
Yeah.
When that look came, you just sit down and shut up.
I think you figured out that look.
Yeah.
I remember a couple times getting a similar look.
I tried anyway.
That's funny.
I don't think anybody was as good as my mom.
What would she allow you to do that she wouldn't allow Aunt Helen to do?
Wear overalls and slop hogs and ride pigs.
Slop hogs and ride pigs?
Yeah.
But why wouldn't she let Aunt Helen do it?
Because she was a lady and she was going to have her wear the clothes that a girl should wear.
But
And
Aunt Helen still wanted to?
I think she did.
Yeah?
I think she always resented that.
So she'd start going after you and
She never did. I think she kind of liked it that I didn't have to. But whenever my brothers would take me and throw me like a ball and play back and forth, or throw my butt through the ceiling or something when my rocking me this way, I could look at her and I could see, boy,
that looks like fun.
Yeah, and how come I can't do stuff like how come they don't treat me like that? And I think that was a little resentful there.
And they treated her differently?
Yeah, because that's the way it was. She was. If you ask my brothers, they will always talk about the Christmas she was born. She was born on the 19th of December. And my mom was not able to get Christmas ready for them in any way. So I guess my dad picked out the toys, and they were little, what we used to call crickle guns. You'd click the trigger, and it would go click, click, and that's all they got. Every one of them. So they always told her that she ruined their whole Christmas. And they do that to this day even. And, and they'll say, you remember how we had to get just crickle guns because you were born, So she was always special. She's kind of set aside as being special. She was a looker, too.
Yeah.
So she's always tall, always slender.
Was she the
graceful.
oldest?
Yeah. Well, she was older than me.
Yeah.
But she was in the middle. She was... It was Uncle Dick and then her and then me.
So she got similar behavior or similar treatment as like I do now, like it's like Susan.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the favorite.
Yeah, that's it. See?
Yeah, they would do the
stuff
same
like
thing
that.
to her.
And I didn't care because I just wanted to get out and swap hogs and ride pigs and climb trees.
Yeah, whatever. I'll be out here slopping hogs.
Let me know when you're ready to, talk about going to church, and I'll get a dress on then, and then that's it. I'm coming right home and getting it on.
That's funny. So they didn't.
No, they gave up. No. My brothers used to take me out trapping with them. I was their dog. They'd catch muskrats or whatever, hook them all around me, and I had to carry all the dead things that they did on this rope or belt they had tied up, and I was their dog that carried those things. And then when we got home, I'd have to help them skin them, gut them, and that's where a lot of my medical interest came from, was looking at the insides of squirrels and muskrats. And
that didn't gross you out?
No, I was fascinated by it. Yeah, and my mother would dress chickens, and she would say, well, come here, I'm going to show you some of this stuff in here, and she'd show us the heart, the liver, all the things in there, and I thought, wow, that's really fascinating, you know.
But snakes?
Don't even. No snake whatsoever. No.
But snakes are off?
Yeah, they were off. No, thank you.
That's funny. Let's see. That's so good. Yeah, we'll save that for Christmas. Did lots of relatives get together? What traditions did you have year after year? What food was served? I mean, we already went over the relatives getting together, but
yeah.
Did you have any odd foods or anything that somebody would bring or request?
I don't think so. I think she cooked pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
And we didn't have anything like. Boy, when I got into visiting nurses, I ran into a lot of people that ate chitlings.
Yeah.
Ooh. And, they have to clean them before they can... You know what a chitling is?
Isn't that...
It's the intestine of a hog.
Right.
And if you don't clean it, there's still intestinal stuff in there. And...
stuff a hog ate, right? Because that's what intestines do.
Crap.
Oh.
Seriously.
Yuck.
Yeah. And so... I would see...
Oh, that's the best part.
I know. Oh, and they just swore that was the best part of Then they had them every Christmas,
Who had them? Visiting nurses.
The visiting nurse people, yeah. No, we didn't get into anything like that.
Pumpkin pie and turkey
I'm
for
so
us.
glad that we didn't get into anything like that. But, she had a standard dressing that you would have loved.
Yeah.
that dressing that she made.
In turkey or out of turkey?
In turkey.
In turkey?
Always, yeah. You would have loved my mom's cooking.
I bet. I think
She
if
was the
yours is
best.
a derivative of hers,
Well, it's a mock derivative.
Is it?
Yeah, never be as good.
you didn't ever learn. You probably never learned because when I went over to Grandma Smith's, she was frying up some pork chops that tasted just like yours.
Yeah, that's kind of the way we cooked. Everybody
Yeah.
kind of used the same flavorings,
Yeah.
and you kind of liked it. And then of course I looked some of the stuff she cooked. I wanted that your dad would like,
Yep.
too, because he was raised on that.
Okay.
So I tried to
Yeah.
get some of that in there.
I see. That's probably why I saw some
Yeah.
similarities.
Yeah, you try to please him.
Traditions. I know, like when we were growing up, we would always go around and say what we were thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
And did you guys have anything like that growing up? Or?
No, not really. But my dad always said the prayer, and it was
Yeah.
the same prayer every year,
Was
every
it?
holiday. It never varied by word at all.
Really?
No. So we all knew what it was going to be, but he always said it.
Yeah.
And that's the only time he prayed
Do you
that I
remem-
know of.
Do you remember what it was?
It's bless the hands that prepared this food. Bless the people that partake of it. It was kind of like on that genre. You
Yeah.
know, like
It was only said on Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving, Christmas.
and
That's it.
Christmas.
Yeah. You could
That's
get him to
cool.
pray those 2 times.
Oh, that's the only ever time you
That's
prayed.
it.
Yeah.
Nope. Don't
That's
ask
good.
him for any more.
That's good. All right. Continuing. Childhood, not so much around Thanksgiving or anything, but let's do graduation. What was you graduated from high school?
Well, actually, I married your father,
Yeah.
so that I did not graduate with
No?
that. And it's like I always told Sheila and Ronnie that we all graduated in 1982 because I went and got my GED. Graduated in 1982, and they graduated from high school in 1982.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I said we're all 82 graduates.
That's funny.
So I never did, but I always kept reading and learning and trying to figure things out even until I did that.
Yeah, and then you went on to college. So
Then I went on to college, and
yeah. So around, okay, we'll say when you got your GED or around the time you were finishing school, dreams and goals. Did you have any dreams and goals?
I always wanted to be a nurse. So
Yeah.
that's what I set out to do with the GED.
Yeah.
First, I wanted it so I could get a job, and they needed it,
Mm-hmm.
So we did that and got a job, and then got into the nursing assistant thing, and then I really got interested in it. So
That's cool.
from there on, we went.
So you really saw,
I enjoyed it. It was moving around. I could never sit behind a desk,
yeah,
and that's why I hated working as a charge nurse, because I did not want to sit behind a computer.
yeah,
I have to be moving, doing stuff, keeping things going, circulating. I just couldn't stand. Even like when I was a kid, I couldn't sit in one place. I had to get out and ride a hog.
How long were you a charge nurse?
Well, I got out of it as much as I could.
Right.
I would say, no, I'll do the meds. I'll do blah blah.
I remember you complaining
I hated it.
about that.
I hated it so
Yeah.
bad I couldn't stand it. But I was good at it, so they kept saying, yeah, you do it. And there's sometimes, even as a CSM, which is just a med aide, they had me in charge of the whole care center overnight.
Is that bad or
That's
is that
bad.
a lot of stress?
Oh, well, yeah, not to mention the fact that they were able to grandfather that in, because that's totally illegal. You're supposed to have they had an RN on call.
Oh,
And if you were lucky, you got the right RN if something went wrong.
huh.
If you didn't get the right RN, you didn't get an answer.
Because they just wouldn't respond?
Yeah, or so you'd have a big bunch of flack, because in the middle of the night, nobody wants to come out, especially if it's snowing or something. But I had one that would always respond. But that, yeah. And I had 2 CNAs, and I don't know if I told you about the one I had. She would come in drunk all the time. And we had 2 CNAs and me. Overnight, I wasn't about to send her home drunk. This one time, she was really bad. So she kept falling asleep in the break room. So I'd go back when it was time to do rounds, and I'd take her by the shoulders, shake her, and say, "Come on, it's time to go do rounds," And she'd get up, and she got it done pretty well. It was just like programmed into her. And she'd go back and sleep some more of it off. It was a horrible responsibility. And then, of course, in the bigger places, in the hospitals and stuff, you don't really work as a charge in a hospital. You just have your own set of patients, and you're in charge of them. And that's enough responsibility there. So, yeah. But in the nursing homes, the last one I worked in, they're always trying to get me to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss.
I know, and I swear it was Murphy's Law. Whenever I had to do that, everything, the worst things would happen.
All right, moving on. Let's see. How did your family earn money?
My dad, when I was a kid?
Yep, this is
He
childhood.
worked as a foreman for Blue Star Foods, and it was a chicken processing place. They would get the chickens in live, and they would
process them,
and they'd even use the feathers, because it was owned by a Jewish guy. And he was going to get money out of every squick and squawk on those chickens. So he had, they'd bring them in live in crates. I remember seeing them out there, and thinking, "Oh, you poor things." They grab them and they'd take them in, and they had the kill line where they just have them hanging upside down, cut their throat, they bleed out in a trough, and then they'd take them around and they'd wash them, and then they'd the plucking room, the defeather them machine, defeather them, keep the feathers, and they had a big room upstairs where they'd fluff the feathers, in this big dryer type thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of sterilized them and fluffed them, and that's where my dad would go to.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Couple snorts.
Yeah. He'd have his snorts up there and go up there and take a little break. He could get away with it. That
Don't
guy.
matter to the chickens.
That guy liked him a lot. He could get away with anything there.
That's funny.
So that's what he did. I got to watch a lot of that stuff being done, and the eggs. If they had any eggs, they would keep the eggs and wash the eggs and use them, because sometimes they lay eggs while waiting to be killed. I mean, he didn't waste a dime. He got all the money he could out of that one. And what would a chicken run in those days? I don't know how much per crate, but it couldn't have been that much.
They're still having eggs?
Yeah.
Shoot.
And
Bag them up.
And sometimes it was big crates of them, and they would wash the eggs up and get rid of them. And so I think they even got to where they were making chicken pot pies there.
What does that mean?
That means that they were using some of their chicken and they were putting them in pot pies and freezing them and selling them. So they had, so he had another thing going there.
Wow.
Yeah, he was making some money. And then
we got anything that you need.
All in one processing place. So he was the foreman of all that. So he had a lot of responsibility. And
jeez.
So he did.
And it sounds like you got like the backstage tour.
Yeah. We could always, if we wanted to, we could go eat lunch with him.
Yeah.
Of course, we were their kids, and they were just, coochie, and we always felt special.
Yeah.
So, the foreman's kid, they're going to really. And then we could go in and just stop in and say hi, ask him for money. Sometimes his foreman or his boss would give us money because he thought we were so cute. Quarters and 50 cents. Or mostly just go to get a can of pop. That would be a big treat.
Yeah. Stuff
like that. So when we were there, we'd kind of watch what he did, and he'd let us go and look at some of this stuff, kind of. But I had been cleaning stuff and skinning them, so it was a little bit odd to see all those chickens upside down.
Bleeding out.
That's
a little inhumane, huh?
Well, it was fast. I mean, you should have seen those knives they had.
Yeah.
Oh, They were so sharp, it was unbelievable.
Huh.
And it didn't take long, and they were gone. So they didn't. I don't think they even knew what hit them. Yeah, it was humane enough, you know.
I'm picturing this at the onion plant.
Yeah, that's what it turned into. Then.
Yep.
Yeah. Now it's the warehouse.
Yeah.
They keep everything there for the warehouse market.
Surplus? Warehouse surplus?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So not everything smells like onions, though?
No, not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. Interesting.
Then my mom, stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Once in a while, she'd go down and make a few extra bucks and work down there doing one thing or another, you know, but not very often. Yeah, she stayed home, baked bread, made donuts, big meals. And we came home for lunch.
Really?
I walked all the way from North Ward, all the way down there, and back again. After walking to school, walking home for lunch, walking back for after lunch.
How long a lunch did you have?
Not that long, but I sure picked them up and put them down. Got there, and she had it ready when we got in there. A lot of times it was just like cocoa and homemade bread and butter, or she'd have just a little something. And
Like,
then, yeah.
You
Well, I
it
think
would have
we
had
had-
it taken
I think-
30 minutes to get to home.
No, because we had it. I mean, we were pretty fast walkers.
Yeah?
Yeah, it took. I think it took about 10 minutes to get there, tops, and then we'd have a little time to eat, and then about that much. I think we had about 45 minutes though. I think we had a longer lunchtime.
Westward?
Northward.
Northward.
That's where right across from where we used to live on 10th Street, that brick building that used to be the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, okay.
Used to be 2-story.
Okay.
Had big, when they took half the story off, it used to have these big fire escapes, big tube things that you'd open a window and slide down it.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to do at the spring, last day of school every year.
That was never in service, or nobody would really use that building when I was growing up, right?
Then the Jehovah's Witnesses
They bought it?
got it. I think they used it to store books or something for a while. And now it's a dance studio.
Okay, I was thinking of Westward. Was there any other, like, Northward?
Northward, Westward,
Westward.
and Wahoo High School. That's it. Well, and then Catholic schools.
No south or eastward?
Nope. Nope.
I was going to say, Wahoo's not that big.
Nope. Well, even now they just have one elementary for
Right.
public and one Catholic elementary and
Yep.
one high school and one
Yeah.
Catholic high school.
Small town.
Yep.
Let's see. What did you do for fun when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, well, I told you all this stuff, basically what I just said I did, you know.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a TV until the early 50s, but we'd listen to the radio, and you really had to use your imagination. You know, you sit around and listen to the stories that were going on.
Yeah.
You'd have to put yourself into it, and they'd have sound effects and everything.
Right.
They'd read the script, and
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
Were there any shows that you would look forward to
Yeah.
on a weekly basis?
Let's Pretend.
Yeah?
I had to listen to that as a little kid all the time.
Huh.
And then
That sounds very, like when you were very, very young.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I even remember the theme song from it, but I'm not gonna comment. But they would go through different things they use in your imagination, making stories up, and you'd listen to that, and it really involved you in it, you know.
Yeah.
So you had to use your imagination and listen to the radio. But then we got a TV, and we're all excited about that
Yeah.
one, you know. But there was like 3 stations and limited amount of time that it was on, and
How long was television out and about before you guys got one?
well, I'd say the 48 is when they really started coming out with them, and I think it was like 52 or 51 before we got one. So it was quite.
Well, weren't sure.
No,
wasn't
and
sure
you know,
if the,
you didn't want to get the early ones because they weren't all that
Yeah.
hot.
Oh gosh. Because they were what?
They weren't all that good.
Oh my gosh. That is so funny because the times really haven't changed.
No, really.
Okay, so you think about it. 48 is when they started producing TVs.
Yeah, and I think they even had them developed before then, but they didn't really. They had like crystals or something they were using, a crystal thing they were using, until they developed the tube big tubes on the back of them. And,
but what about content? Like what was the like?
Well, mostly news, morning news.
War stuff.
Then they would have programs like we loved to watch I Love Lucy. That was one of my favorite programs, and that was the originals, not the reruns. And we loved that one. And then they had a lot of game shows on in the morning if we happened to be home from school. There was one called Feather Your Nest. I remember that one.
Sounds like they had. I'm just picturing like only a few shows on here or there.
Yeah,
then,
well, it kind of started running more and more.
Yeah.
They saw how productive it was. And, of course, there was the variety show, Milton Berle and Jack Benny.
Yeah.
All those big shot, Red Skelton, all those big shot comedians. Musical things they would do. And of course, Howdy Doody. I watched that every time it was on.
Did you see, like, some sort of a correlation between... like the people who were creating the content for the radio going into TV?
Oh yeah, they brought a lot of the radio programs to TV.
Yeah.
Like Mr. and Mrs. North. That was another one we used to watch as a married couple as a detective team. And that was from the movie, and then it went to radio, and then it came to TV. And well, then they had like Perry Mason. I watched that every day and every rerun every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the detective things, and
that would make for good audio, like on the radio, right?
Did
Perry Mason start on the radio?
Yeah, I think he did.
Did he?
Yeah. And well, then they had things like the Green Hornet on the radio. I would tell them going back to the radio again, and it was kind of like your superpower guys today.
Yeah, Green Hornet is a. I think he was. Oh, Green Lantern might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that was a Green Hornet, and then one that was real spooky called The Shadow. And the opening to it was, who knows about blah, blah, kind of like Unsolved Mysteries. Who knows blah, blah, and then it would go, The Shadow knows, And then he'd laugh this real maniacal laugh in the background. It was really good for radio and imagination. But the TV shows, Howdy Doody, one on Saturday mornings called The Buster Brown Show.
Buster Brown?
Yeah, and that was produced by, you guess what, Shoes. That was sponsored by the Shoes. And yeah.
Huh. You guess what shoes?
Buster Brown Shoes, you're not familiar with those? Oh, they were a big shoe item for kids in those days. So you always talked about your Buster Brown. Get your Buster Browns on, because we got to go do this.
All I remember his dad saying, "Come here, Buster Brown," or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's probably where it came from.
Yeah.
And, so all those, a lot of kids' programs, Lassie, Rin Tin Tin.
Interesting. Was it, did...
Lone Ranger, that was another one.
Yeah. Were your parents, grandma and grandpa, very limiting of you watching TV?
No, they didn't care.
No?
No. They really didn't. We had chores to do, and those better be done.
Yeah.
And
that's probably what they cared about most.
Yeah. You get that done. And homework, I always had that done in school.
Yeah.
I was always up there with it, So.
That's funny. That's good. As long as you get your chores done, we don't care what you do.
I remember talking about watching TV, and Helen, and this is something I'll never forget. We were sitting in there I think it was a Saturday afternoon, and I was sitting here like this with my hand propped, and she was eating these Ritz crackers, and I said, well, why don't you throw me one, and she threw it, and it went right into my hand that was propping my head up.
Yeah.
We couldn't have done that again, ever.
And it stayed there?
It stayed there.
Yeah?
That was so funny. I'll always remember that.
I like it when funny stuff like that happens. Let's see. We did big world events before. When you were...
Well, since it's Thanksgiving, we have to talk about the 23rd when Jack Kennedy was shot.
Okay. Because it was
that was
near
the anniversary, November 23rd. It was
Oh.
like 1962, I think it was, or 63. So that would make it what anniversary now?
65, 50, 45?
45, something like.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So they mentioned on the
55.
news again. Yeah. So it was that year. I think it was before
Jack Kennedy, you said?
John. That's
John.
Everybody called him Jack.
Oh.
You know, that's what everybody called him as a nickname. But John Kennedy, yeah. And
How old were you then?
I was in my, let's see, well, 1962, I was 20 or, no, 19. Well, I would have been 19 going on 20 the next year. If it was 63, I was 20.
Were you into politics then, or?
Well, I
Did you
liked
really
him,
have
and
to
I
be?
kind of liked him. I used to watch his news conferences, and you know,
Yeah.
he was more like you would consider a Republican today.
He was a Democrat though?
He was a Democrat, yeah.
Really?
But he got a lot of stuff done, even though he had his moments, sexual harassment.
Right.
Well, he didn't really harass them. They all seemed to be thrilled about it. So
How was the tolerance back then just so low?
the press concealed it. They protected him. And his father was a rounder that went out with he had a movie star that was his mistress, and here's Roses at home taking care of 8 kids. And
What do you think the difference is between now and then?
now they expose it more, and obviously not enough from what's been coming out recently. But
But do you think it's more politically driven or more?
I think a lot of it is, especially
more bias driven. I would say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do. And so I still think they protect. If you look at the newscasts now, you'll see 15 minutes of Donald Trump's people and what they've done wrong, and the guy in Alabama that's running for governor. And if you talk about what's his face, that Franken guy, you get 5 minutes of subdued news reporting. So it kind of tells you where it's at.
It's frustrating because, you know, for the longest time I've considered myself to be a Republican, you know, and then I start finding myself saying, well, Obama wasn't that bad, you know. He did do some good things. There were some obviously some bad decisions he's made. You argue against the executive decisions he's made and how he went, you know, overboard with those. Donald Trump is using the same executive decisions.
Yeah.
You know, so and I'm an NBC watcher, but now more so looking at it from a different, you know, just from an unbiased perspective, it's like, why you keep hounding in on this side and not going into
That shows you it's not
both sides.
It's not true news anymore. It's their view and
It's
how they want you
frustrating.
to see it. Yeah, it is frustrating. So
Because who's unbiased
and not too many people. Fox is kind of the other way, you know.
for Donald Trump?
They're more on the other side, or they used to be. I don't know now. But
They keep kissing his ass because he keeps feeding into
yeah,
them.
that's true.
It's
But
the only show I watch. It's beautiful. It's wonderful news. Spot on. Whatever.
well, they are a little less unbiased, but not. I mean, they're biased too. So you just have to watch it and know what they're doing. I just look for true news. I mean, it's something they can't politicize. That's all I want to see on there.
Yeah. Like how many black people are getting shot nowadays or something like
Well,
that.
they politicize that too.
Well,
You
yeah.
know.
But that's at least news that. Yeah.
Yeah, who robbed what and who did what and all this stuff. Who got in a wreck, and local news is better.
Yeah. but then you have the first birthday crap.
I like that.
Do you?
Yeah, I think that appeals to ladies.
I guess if you're, yeah, grandparents probably like first birthday stuff, huh?
Oh yeah,
Oh, they're
I
so
love that
cute.
stuff. They are. I really love looking at them.
Did you see Joe Biden said he was considering?
That's all we need is a 74-year-old Joe Biden running for president.
Yeah.
I think he's a pretty big joke.
Yeah. I don't know. Where is our John Kennedy? Our 2017
Yeah.
John Kennedy.
Yep.
Need one.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Can I find one more out of here? Anything else you want to talk about?
I think we covered quite a bit.
Okay. Let's see. Do you have any, let's see, let's go recent. Any favorite memories of Thanksgiving that you have?
I just loved, my favorite memory is having all you guys around the table and maybe a few neighbors or our family sometimes would come over. One year I had 25 people and had all of the brothers that were here and their families and everybody around.
Your brothers?
Yeah, my brothers and their wives and some of their kids and all you guys, and
Is that the Yellow House?
yeah. Yeah, I really had to stretch that table out, and when we all sat around it, though.
That wasn't when I did the cheek or anything, was it?
No, that was on the one where we had neighbors then, and I think
I remember. So
Yeah.
that was
that was a doozy.
that was a stacked house though.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember running into the living room, and why it happened is because I tried to jump over people's feet. They were sitting. There was a coffee table there, and there was everybody.
Yeah,
there
had
was
a
a stacked
stack of them. Yeah, we had a bunch of people that
couch,
year.
and I tried to jump up, and the very first one, my foot caught on the leg, and
Down
I
you
went down.
Yeah, I think
right in the corner.
Shirley was there, and she was becoming a nurse, and
Yeah.
so she was talking about what you needed. And if we'd had butterfly, she could have fixed it for you.
Huh.
But we took you down to get, I don't know, or stitches. But I think they put stitches in, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they did.
Yep. I think I have one dimple now because of it. So.
Yeah, that was the house full, and then I always remember the smell of Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Because it was usually pretty chilly, and you could walk in the house and smell that turkey and dressing cooking and all the stuff you had, going with it, and all the smells of the pumpkin pie and
The crisp air coming in, the dry leaves coming in, mixed with the.
yeah. Oh, it's the best smell.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember that, and mostly just having you guys around the table,
Yeah.
thinking how lucky we were.
Yeah, I don't have any bad memories of Thanksgiving at all. No, nothing
I love this.
ruined or nothing.
Oh no. It was my favorite holiday.
Yeah.
I love that holiday.
Yeah, it's Christmas without the expectations.
Yeah.
That's what I think of it.
Well, I can tell you a few Christmases that were ruined, like when your dad threw up all over the elves on the coffee table. That was a good way to start out the Christmas day.
On the elves?
Yeah, he was feeling really sick. Everybody had stomach flu, and we're pretty much over it, but he got it.
We'll get into that next time.
Boy, that was a mess.
And apparently you and Paul have some, I don't know. You guys were like
We
you
just
guys
knew exactly what each other was thinking
Yeah.
when we asked about
the interview.
the childhood stuff,
yeah.
because oh man.
Good.
Oh,
Well, we'll
some of
save
the
that.
stories I could tell you about that little dude. Oh.
Well, hopefully his interview will be fun.
Well, he's
and
going to talk about
entertaining.
how wonderful he was.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you can counter that, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we'll wrap this up. Thanks again, Mom.
You're
and,
welcome.
Even though it's late, and it's probably going to be late when this gets published, happy Thanksgiving,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
And this is Thanksgiving 2017 interview in the books.